One of the issues you're going to encounter when you think about kayaking for seniors is whether you need to add a motor to your kayak, when paddle is not enough. Stay tuned and I'll give you some options. Like you, I'm an old guy. I've got the gray hairs and I get tired after a while. And depending on how far you intend to go on your kayak, using a paddle or a pedal may not be enough to get you to your destination. Well, I'm going to talk about two different options for motors for your kayak today. One is a base option that maybe runs you around $300 with the battery, and the other is a high-end option, but it has a number of distinct advantages that we're going to get into. First, the base option. The base option is basically just to get a standard fishing trolling motor and attach it to your kayak. Now, the best place to put these is in a transom mount, but it has its disadvantages in that when you're sitting in the seat, you won't be able to get back there to either change the speed on these base models or the angle. And that drives a lot of people to attach it to their side where it's in reach. And the way I recommend, if you're going to do that, and I'll link up a video at the end of this to describe how to set this up, is I've got a bar across the back of my kayak, and then I slide this in, and that becomes the mount for my kayak. Once it's mounted, I'm ready to go, but this has a number of disadvantages. First, this is heavy. The motor and the mount probably weighs about 25 pounds, and that's going to cause my kayak to tilt a little bit. So I'm going to have to push the battery that I'm going to use to run this to the other side. We'll talk about batteries a little bit later. The other thing is even with the handle extended, it's awkward to try and reach this from the seat to adjust the speed. Now, I've got a rudder on my kayak, so I typically just lock this down and use the rudder to steer, so the only thing I need to get access to this for is to change the speed. The problem here is pretty obvious. This hangs a long way below the kayak, and if I hit something, I've got to be able to leverage this up. And that is difficult because I've got to activate this switch here and then pull up while I'm turning around at a really awkward angle for one of us senior citizens. So you need to consider that as you look at the inexpensive option. Now let's go to a more high-end option that has more flexibility, and most important, it's light and easy to use. Once you get into the high-end motors, these are pretty pricey, but they come with the benefit of being a little lighter and more flexible than the base model. This is the PacMotor, which only weighs 9 pounds, and I'm going to show you how to put that on here in a minute. The other options are Torqeedo and Bixby, and it's my understanding that they come with mounting kits that allow them to be mounted to the rear. But none of these require a side mount like this, and so you're able to get direct thrust, and that provides for better steering. Now, the neat thing about the PacMotor is that it's so light, it's easy for one of us seniors to install. And basically, it just slips over your kayak. You pull down to tighten the strap, putting it up as close to your seat as you want, and then this strap attaches to the front. Now, the advantage of this is that you can pop this up and down very easily right from your seat, and it provides propulsion on both sides of your kayak so you move forward quickly. In addition, it has the ability to turn on a dime, a skid steer, if you will. If you have the ability to go with a little bit higher end, and this is cheaper than Bixby and Torqeedo, this is the way I would go. It's going to push a heavy kayak. They've done experiments where it's successfully pushed a kayak with 400 pounds of cargo. And this is just so cool that this goes up and down so easily to allow you to control it. The other thing, unlike the base model, is that once you install this on your kayak, you can leave it installed as you transport. It's strapped down, there's no need to take it off, and you can just move down the road. Once it's on, it's on. So now we get into how do you power these things? And you really have two choices. You can go with a deep cycle marine battery or a lithium phosphate battery. The difference is capacity and weight. Now for one of us old guys, I recommend against the deep cycle because they're just spectacularly heavy. And once you get it on your kayak, that's going to weigh down your kayak even more and make it more difficult to either pedal or paddle and detract from the amount of speed you're going to be able to get from your motor. So I always recommend one of these lithium batteries. This thing weighs less than 25 pounds. I can lift it with one hand and it can pop in the back of my kayak easily. And the great thing about these is just like your tools that are powered by batteries, the lithium battery will run until it runs out. Now you don't really want to do that, but a deep cycle marine battery, and I've got a video that talks about the differences, so I won't really get into them here. It will discharge to a certain point and then just kind of bottom out. There are your two choices. You can get a base model and save some bucks, or you can get a high-end model that's light, flexible, permanently installed if you want, and will move you easily through the water. Get a lithium battery with the greatest capacity you can afford, and you're going to have a good day on the water. Questions or comments? Throw it down below. Thanks.